Brief introduction. Shri Srinivas serves as Secretary to the Government of India in the Department of Administrative Reforms and Public Grievances and the Department of Pensions, Pensioners' Welfare in the Ministry of Personnel, Public Grievances and Pensions. He represents India on the Council of Administration of the International Institute of Administrative Sciences, Brussels. Shri Srinivas is a recipient of the Rajbhasha Kriti Purashkar 2024. The Digital India Award 2020, Certificate of Outstanding Public Service from the Chief Minister of Rajasthan 2019, the AIMS Leadership Excellence Award 2017, and the Kaya Kalp Clean Hospital Award 2016. He has authored 3 books: India's Relations with the Indian International Monetary Fund, 25 Years in Perspective, 1991 to 1996, G20 at 2023, The Roadmap to India's Presidency, and the March to New India, Governance Transformation 2014 to 2019. He has published over 250 papers and delivered 150 orations. The government of Rajasthan, he has served as chairman of the Board of Revenue and chairman Rajasthan Tax Board. He is a senior administrator, a respected academician, and an institutional builder par excellence, and also a very, very celebrated badminton player. Thank you, sir. We are all up.
Respected Padma Garu, Director General ASCI, Ramesh Kumarji, an ideal and legend of the Guru Subara Garu, Deepak Garu, distinguished colleagues, the IPA of course, and this is the second time I am speaking at the ASCI. In fact, it is my great privilege to deliver the ASCI 68th Foundation Day lecture. And the tradition of ASCI Foundation Day lectures dates back to 1967. And a number of illustrious luminaries have rendered distinguished services to the nation, have delivered the ASCI Foundation Day lectures. I'm extremely grateful to Shri K. Padmanabh Garu for inviting me to deliver the 2024 ASCI Foundation Day lecture on the theme, Viksit Bharat, Transforming Governance. In fact, Shri K. Padmanabh Garu has been a role model and an inspiration. His commitment to public policy and governance covering nearly 60 years is quite legendary, and he has contributed to nation building at Government of India levels, as also to strengthening ASCI as a preeminent public policy institution of India. The ASCI is an institution of excellence. In fact, it's an institution of national importance and has rendered government service to progressive public policy making. We have collaborated with ASCI in a number of initiatives. Dr. Bagchi and Dr. Harsh worked with us in the Prime Minister's Awards for Excellence in Public Administration. The formulation of Vision India at 2047 on governance, which had a huge number of inputs from ASCI faculty. Case studies with regard to the governance reforms that were adopted post-abrogation of Article 370 in the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, as a knowledge partner for implementing the Sevottam capacity building programs, and also in the strengthening of the Center for Innovations in Public Systems, wherein which an award for Northeastern states innovations was introduced. In fact, ASCI's value statement, Sangat Chandvam, Samadbhavam, Sovo Manam Sijatam, let us be together, let us interact together, and may our minds comprehend together, fits well with the national theme of one earth, one family, one future. With these opening remarks, let me introduce you to the subject, Viksit Bharat, Transforming Governance. Let me begin with a quote from Prime Minister at the ramparts of Red Fort, in which he said, "In this decade of Amritkal, we will give priority to next generation reforms. We will ensure that facilities like service delivery should reach citizens up to the last mile. It should reach the person seamlessly. without hesitation or any kind of difficulty, and for the overall development of the country, unnecessary interference of government and government processes in the lives of people has to be ended. Thereafter, in the special session of Parliament, Prime Minister said as the first rays of Amritkal are illuminating the nation with a new belief, fresh self-confidence, new enthusiasm, and new dreams, new resolutions, and a renewed strength of the nation, achievements of Indians are being discussed everywhere with a great sense of pride. This is the collaborative effort of our 75-year parliamentary history, which echoes our accomplishments are being heard worldwide. In his historic third term in Parliament, in government, the Honorable Prime Minister has laid down a very ambitious governance agenda, which envisages every ministry and department, formulates initiatives and ideas for implementation of the Panch Pran, the 5 resolutions that were announced in the Independence Day address of the Prime Minister on August 15, 2022. These Panch Pran represent the vision of our nation's good governance, principles and practices, and these envisage the goal of a developed India, to remove any trace of colonial mindset, to take pride in our roots, unity, and a sense of duty amongst the citizens. These Panch Pran are to be implemented over the next 25 years and will be the priorities for Viksit Bharat at 2047, when India celebrates 100 years of its independence. The policy maxim of the government is maximum governance, minimum government. And what it envisages is a digitally empowered citizen and a digitally transformed institution. Government has tried to bring citizens and government closer using technology for the ease of living and for the ease of doing business. We've also witnessed significant improvements in terms of grievance redressal systems to make them sensitive, accessible, and also meaningful. We've tried to formulate policies to enable the nation to become the 3rd largest economy in the world, which requires reskilling and upskilling of a number of civil servants. We've seen many depictions of the Karmayogi portal in the corridors of ASCI. I will brief you on the Karmayogi competency model as part of this lecture. And also, for governance models to be effective, constant evaluation in terms of metrics is necessary. So, competitive spirit among state and districts by evaluation, and so that they can be enabled to adopt reforms, is being pursued. Further, social equity, justice, transparency, and accountability, these are the preeminent requisites of good governance. Government has tried to adopt its priority sector scheme on a saturation approach, which is all-round, all-pervasive, and all-inclusive government model. There are 12 priority sector schemes where such saturation approach is being pursued, like the Har Ghar Jal Yojana, the PM Awas Yojana, the Mission Indradhanush, Ujjwala Yojana, Jan Arogya Yojana, PM Swanidhi, Matru Vandana Yojana, Vishwakarma Yojana, Mudra Yojana, Poshan Yojana, Kisan Credit Card. And then the vision is Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, Sabka Vishwas, and Sabka Prayas. This has become the overarching goal of public policy. In the course of the lecture, I will cover 5-6 aspects of good governance. The first is the effective redressal of public grievances, that is the CPGRAM portal. The second would be the Karmayogi competency model. The third I would cover with regard to how governance models are being evaluated and monitored, the Good Governance Index, the District Good Governance Index, the National E-Services Delivery Assessment. I will also cover the initiatives for increasing efficiency in governance and decision making, and of course the special campaign, and the efforts that have been made for improving pensioners' welfare, the digital empowerment of pensioners, and the new models of governance, which is the Chintan Shivir approach, wherein which holistic governance models are being created. So in this 6-strand approach, I would take up this lecture, and let me start with the subject of effective redressal of public grievances. The second Administrative Reforms Commission, which Mr. Moily headed, had devoted a lot of time and wrote a very voluminous report on citizen-centric governance. And the second ARC says that governance to be citizen-centric should be participative and transparent. It should be effective, efficient, and responsive to citizens. And the ethos of serving citizens should permeate all organizations. And government organizations should be accountable to the people. The Department of Administrative Reform handles the CP Grams portal. Many of you would have seen it. Many of you would have used the portal. It is easily accessible, available in all 22 regional languages, www.cgportal.gov.in. And it is integrated with all the state portals. The performance, every ministry is mapped on it. There are more than 12,000 categories mapped on it. And 101,000 grievance officers are mapped on it. More than 28 lakh citizens have used the CPGram portal, are registered users on the CPGram portal. And it has redressed 1 crore 12 lakh grievances from 2020 to 2024. So it is a portal that is widely used, where grievance redressal is quite timely. You get a response, and it's a structured form of in which grievances are addressed. There has been significant technology adoption in grievance redressal. As we studied over the past 6 years, my association with public grievance redressal, handling a citizen's journey with government, has evolved, and we tried to adopt more and more technology into governance. We tried to bring in artificial intelligence into grievance redressal so that big data dissemination and analytics can be developed. We brought in the Center of Good Governance, Hyderabad, to ensure that the grievance assessment indices can be undertaken and ministries can be monitored. An intelligent grievance monitoring dashboard, for example, which will enable you to identify right up to the village level, the citizen level, where grievances are being filed, and also the priority scheme wise, which is a scheme which is generating grievances so that root causes can be identified. We've tried to bring together more than 14 institutions to enable us as part of the CPGram's 10-step reform. In fact, the CPGram 10-step reform was the vision of the Prime Minister, who said that there needs to be timely, meaningful, and efficient redressal of grievances, focused on quality of disposal, as also on timelines of disposal. Today, a CPGram portal grievance is redressed in a period of about 14 days, and the satisfaction levels are about 55%. This was possible because we brought together a number of institutions, the Indian Institute of Technology, Kanpur, the Center for Good Governance, Hyderabad, the BSNL, which did the feedback call center. We set up a data strategy unit in collaboration with National Institute of Smart Governance. As also, we set up the Quality Council of India. Teams were involved so that monthly reports can be published. If you see the website, you can find a huge number of reports and documentation as to how the CPGrams is being implemented in a monthly manner. To cater to the needs of the rural population, common service centers were roped in, and 5.3 lakh common service centers offer this digital platform to the rural population. Huge number of rural population use it across India, and Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, PM Kisan, huge number of grievances are filed to the Common Service Center. 20th of every month is celebrated as the Common Service Centers CPGrams Day, in which more than 5.5 lakh Common Service Centers participate in a Facebook Live discussion which we coordinate. The implementation of the 10-step reforms has had far-reaching impact. We could bring down grievance redressal time. We could track every grievance. And we also have a call record in which citizen satisfaction is monitored. And as I said, the first cause was universalization of CPGram so that the grievance redressal time could be brought down and the grievance lands at the last mile of the officer. So if you want to file a grievance with the post office in Araku Valley, and the name of the post office superintendent is available and mapped on the system. Department of Post was one of the first departments which mapped 1.5 lakh post offices on the CP grams. And that was the first big step for reform. Thereafter, we had Ministry of Railways participating in it, CBDT integrating its e-Nivaran portal, Rail Mother portal was integrated, and several state portals were integrated. So you have across the nation, starting with Jammu and Kashmir, the JK Samadhan, all the way up to Kerala, the Chief Minister's grievance redressal portal, Aple Sarkar of Maharashtra, Mo Sarkar of Odisha, Rajasthan, Jan Sampark portal, Telangana has Janahita, then you have Spandana of Andhra. Across the nation, a series of grievance portals have been integrated with CP grams. As was quoted by the Honorable Chairman, the CP grams is currently the world's largest citizen interface platform. It is implemented across all ministries, all states, all districts, and it has a universal interface. All autonomous bodies and very advanced technologies are being used. In fact, it has received huge amount of recognition. And the Grievance Redressal Assessment Index that was launched in November 2024 indicated that almost 80 or the 85 or the 89 ministries had made positive progress in terms of how grievance redressal has progressed. It has received both global as also national attention, and the reform was found to be amongst the 100 best tech ideas in 10 key sectors to make India a developed nation by 2047 by the India Today magazine. The Commonwealth heads of public service and secretaries to cabinet recognized the CP grams as a state-of-the-art grievance redressal system for replication in 56 countries, and it is included as part of India's digital public infrastructure initiatives. We made a presentation to the Biden administration on how performance.org, which is the grievance platform of the government of the United States, can adopt some of the best practices from CP grams. To take this further, government in its third term has further improved the guidelines of CP grams for effective redressal of public grievances were further updated, simplifying citizen interfaces, faster source code, so that the system can operate at a faster level, grievance redressal times being brought down to 21 days, and setting up of nodal cells in each ministry for monitoring grievance redressal. In fact, the commitment to take governance to the last mile from the highest echelons of governance, sitting in Government of India in New Delhi, one can monitor the grievance redressal at the grassroots level. That is what technology has enabled and how institutions have transformed themselves. We've also worked with a number of institutions in this regard, the state administrative training institutions, whole range of them, the Haryana Institute of Public Administration, the Institute of Management and Governance, Kerala, the HCM, Rajasthan Institute of Public Administration, the Norona Academy of Public Administration, Bhopal, Assam Administrative Staff College. Across the board, 36 ATIs work with us. In addition, ASCI has been roped in as a knowledge partner for formulating the course curriculum in which these number of grievance officers, 101,000 plus grievance officers have to be imparted capacity building programs in a time-bound manner. The second strand that I would like to deal with is the Karma Yogi competency model. The Karma Yogi competency model fits in with the Government of India's new paradigm of capacity building, which seeks to improve efficiency in bureaucracy and develop a people-centric approach in governance that is rooted in India's civilizational ethos. So they have recently launched the competency model, and you should read it, which was released by the Prime Minister in October 2024. It has 4 sankalps, 4 sankalps, that is based in Vikasa, Garva, Kartavya, and Ekta. And based on these, for a future-ready civil service, the Capacity Building Commission of India has identified 13 behavioral competencies of civil servants, which lead to self-awareness, personal effectiveness, solution orientation, communication, outcome orientation, service orientation, operational excellence, creativity and innovation, strategic leadership, collaborative leadership, team leadership, and teamwork. The competency model also envisages 21 functional competencies, with each one who joins government, for example, writing of cabinet notes, writing of project notes, understanding procurement policies, the general financial rules. So each of these areas are quite important. So the Karmayogi platform provides you with 1,500 modules. 1,500 modules are available in which you can undergo training and constantly keep upskilling your levels so that when you enter a new organization, that kind of steep learning curve can be moderate. In fact, more than several lakhs, in fact, I was just looking at the numbers and I found more than 50 lakh civil servants have undergone Karmayogi competency certificates have been downloaded. In fact, in my own department, I find several undersecretaries, section officers who have undergone more than 300 programs each on the Karmayogi competency portal. And many of them are undergoing programs. I've seen older undersecretaries on the verge of retirement also showing interest in subjects like emerging technologies, use of AI in governance. Of course, there are several who are using even stress management in government and how we can overcome stress levels in terms of the behavioral competencies. So it provides a 24/7 learning platform. It need not be a classroom didactic session, but you can go and do it anytime, anywhere model. The third strand that I'd like to deal with is the initiative for increasing efficiency in decision making. In fact, I was associated with this initiative from 2020 when the then Cabinet Secretary, Mr. Rajiv Gauba, said that we should create flatter organizations. The Central Secretariat had become very, very hierarchical in nature, multiple levels of supervision, and more than 8 levels a file would pass before a decision was reached. The Administrative Reforms Commissions had recommended 3 levels. Government of India adopted 4 levels for disposal, including the ministerial level. And to bring that down from 8 levels to 4 levels took us almost 4 years of effort. It required constant oversight and constant publication of data. And this, as was recorded by the then Cabinet Secretary, said that it's one of the pioneering administrative reforms to speed up decision-making to meet the expectations of citizens. One of the most complicated and far-reaching administrative reforms witnessed in the Central Secretariat, bringing a silent reform in work culture, reduced hierarchies, and also a significant adoption of technology. The first step that was taken and that was recommended by the group of secretaries which I was part of was flatter organizational structure. And the effort was we create a flatter organization where where standing orders of departments are reviewed, greater delegation of financial as also administrative power, particularly for miscellaneous and contingent expenditures, and adoption of e-office as to enable the march to a digital secretariat. How do you transform a paper-driven office where paper-read files dominate almost 90% of the P-files, physical files dominated the Central Secretariat, and transform it into a digital secretariat where 95% files are electronic files? That transformation was possible because e-office was integrated into the Central Secretariat Manual of Office Procedure. And the introduction of the CSMOP, the 2019 CSMOP, to integrate the Manual of Office Procedure with the Manual of Electronic Office Procedure and bringing in e-office as a key element ensured that today we have more than 95% of the files, that is 40 lakh files in the Central Secretariat, function as electronic files. In addition, we have more than 500,000 receipts every month. 500,000 receipts every month are processed as digital receipts. So in a digital system, The files are not lost, permanent record is easily maintained, and lateral organizations could be monitored. We developed the e-office analytics to identify ministry-wise how the hierarchies are moving, and we found that by June 2024, the number of levels to which files were passing had come down to 4.01. Across ministries, 84 ministries, thousands of officers, you could find that in every ministry, the average levels of disposal, except for some of the larger ministries, had come down to 4 levels. It largely happened because the delayering, where the flab was between the joint secretaries, additional secretaries, and special secretaries, they were put in one category, and a new vertical could be created without additional staff being created, without additional posts being created. There was also some streamlining with regard to administrative and financial delegation. In terms of miscellaneous and contingent expenditures, we found every ministry had its own divergent delegations. So uniformity in terms of delegations was brought in. And as I said, the e-office pattern was adopted. And e-office version was 5.0. Then it went to 5.6, then 6.0, 7.0. And today it is 7.3.11 is being introduced, a work from anywhere model with virtual private networks being operationalized. This required huge amount of upskilling of particularly lower staff. Even several senior officers needed to understand how knowledge management systems and EHRMS works on in a digital secretariat. We've had to have a huge number of workshops with regard to cybersecurity and how the digital systems can be protected, particularly password updation, protection against phishing, protection against the timely use of virtual private networks and monitoring the use of digital signature certificates. Each of these were discussed and deliberated across workshops, and dissemination was possible. The Swachhta campaign, which was mentioned by the chairman, was a massive campaign. It's a special campaign for institutionalizing Swachhta and reducing pendency in government offices. This was commenced in 2021. And the size and scale of the campaign every year that I see this has enlarged in size, scale, learning paradigms. And it has enabled massive streamlining of government offices. Today, you enter a government office, you'll find that it is unbelievably changed. In fact, I could not recognize several office spaces where I went, which was file cluttered with file. They've become digitally competent and enabled, and huge amount of office space was freed. The focus was on digitization, efficient management of office spaces, enhancement of office spaces, environmental friendly practices, inclusivity, as also sanitation protocols, and mechanisms for waste disposal. So it was called Ek Kadam Swachhta Ki Aur, and it enabled a new thinking in government. So this is celebrated from October 2nd to 31st every year. And let me just give the numbers again. This year, the campaign did 5.97 lakh offices. The revenue earned from scrap disposal this year alone was 650 crores. The cumulative revenue earned is more than 2,300 crores from scrap disposal. We found huge numbers of vehicles needed to be disposed. Huge numbers of electronic equipment needed to be disposed of. It was amazing the quantum of junk that officers were carrying. And record management practices were improved, and more than 20,000 records were transferred to the National Archives of India. And we set up an exhibition of archival records called Sushasan or Abhilekh, which had huge amount of volumes of records which were transferred from across ministries to the NAI. The Prime Minister has commended this initiative. He has spoken about it in his Mann Ki Baat, and he has said that by focusing on efficient management and proactive action, this effort has attained great results. It shows how collective results can lead to sustainable results, promoting both cleanliness and economic freedoms. He has spoken about it in his Mann Ki Baat in his last edition, the 116th edition on November 24th. In which he also says that a special Swachhta Abhiyan launched to remove decades of old files and scrap, and you will be happy to know that the campaign has brought amazing results in government departments. Cleanliness has freed up a lot of space, and this has also brought a sense of ownership amongst people working in the offices. The fourth strand that I'd like to speak about is developing district and state metrics. Governance needs to be measured. Otherwise, it is difficult to understand. You create a portal and the portal is not effective. It's no point filing a grievance on a portal for a street light to be repaired and the street light is not repaired for the next 10 days. Governance seeks answer, and the quality of governance is monitored through the Good Governance Index and the National E-Services Delivery Assessment. More than three editions of each of these has been published, and there are 58 indicators that were taken up in the first edition. And what we found across states was there was a positive movement towards good governance. Also, the district good governance indices were taken up in which states participated. And this was taken up for about 75 districts of Uttar Pradesh, 33 districts of Gujarat, and 25 districts of Arunachal, all the districts of Maharashtra, and also for Jammu and Kashmir. And many of them have developed these district indices into monitoring, regular monitoring on a portal. So Maharashtra monitors 161 indicators through 10 sectors. Uttar Pradesh, of course, has a very citizen-centric focused initiative in which all 75 districts are monitored for effective redressal of public grievances. Their Jan Sunwai Samban portal is quite a strong portal and monitored from their highest levels of governance. It also has huge number of common service centers. In fact, particularly for the rural population, the common service centers emerge as a backbone for online government services. We also examined the Gujarat model of governance, and what sets apart the Gujarat model of governance from the other states was we found that almost all the 33 districts of Gujarat figured within a very narrow bandwidth. In fact, the discrepancy in terms of performance across districts ranged from 5.66 to 5.0. So they were almost at the same level across sectors. In fact, they even started monitoring the timelines when an FIR was filed and when a charge sheet was actually filed. So even those, the district SPs were monitoring. And an overall well-governed district administration is the backbone of good governance. The National E-Services Delivery Assessment was undertaken on the models of the United Nations E-Services Delivery Assessment. And we initially started with examining 1,400 services. 1,400 e-services we found that contributed to roughly about 48% of the number of e-services that could be taken up. There were many e-services that were being offered as physical services. Today, when we see with more than 17,500 e-services, India has reached about 75% of the total services being offered as e-services. So that has been a significant change. Every state went digital. Jammu and Kashmir digitized more than 1,100 services. We found states like Maharashtra, which were very well governed, but with not having so many e-services, have scaled up and touched nearly 1,000 e-services. So a proactive governance, a digital governance model could be created with constant monitoring. Which are the most commonly used e-services in the state level? These are the caste certificates, income certificates, birth certificates, death certificates, e-payment bills. And of the central ministries, you have the PAN card application corrections, Aadhaar application corrections, e-filing of income tax returns, learners' licenses, passport applications, the digital life certificate for pensioners. These are some of the very widely used applications. The next one I'd like to deal with is recognizing meritocracy. In fact, I was part of almost 7 years of the Prime Minister's Awards for Excellence in Public Administration. And the transformation in terms of how the Prime Minister's Awards scheme has been implemented, ASCI was a part of the journey across the board. In fact, the last Prime Minister's Awards were conferred in April 21st, 2023, in which more than 26,000 civil servants participated when the Prime Minister addressed the nation. And he said that the Civil Service Day should become an opportunity to infuse new energy within us to make new resolutions. New officers were handheld with new enthusiasm and to be part of the system. So It is mandatory for every district collector to participate in the scheme. 743 district collectors participated, 97% of the district collectors participating in it, producing nominations on innovations in governance at district level, district visions, as also holistic development of districts and priority sector programs. And there are two major ones that I'd like to present. One is the Prime Minister's Gati Shakti program, which was received the award. It's a very futuristic program, and it actually is being replicated in 3-4 neighboring countries. A national master plan that integrates a holistic approach to develop world-class infrastructure, and Ministry of Road Transport and Highways uses it extensively, as also some of the other infrastructure ministries are using the national master plan, particularly for shipping, to identify how turnaround time is working. In fact, it produces more than 800 plus layers of data of states and over 500 layers of data of central ministries. And the average timeline to prepare project reports has come down a great deal. The second one that I'd like to mention is the Aspirational Districts Program. The Aspirational Districts Program is a model of local area development. We've had a number of local area development schemes. The one feature which sets apart the Aspirational Developments Program, Aspirational Districts Program, has been the structured monitoring of the program on 50 indicators. So these indicators cover health, nutrition, education, agriculture, water resources, financial inclusion, skill development, and infrastructure. So a monthly progress of Delta rankings has been developed, where across districts and the quantum in which a Delta moves, you figure. So a district which can feature at 120th can actually move in case its Delta ranking improves significantly and earn 3 crores award money, which is given for that particular program in that quarter of implementation. So two such districts where massive transformation was witnessed. One was the Gumla district, which implemented a Ragi mission for farmers. It's a rain-fed district, which implemented the Ragi mission for farmers and witnessed massive increases in terms of crop production. And the other is this insurgency-hit district of Baramulla, which established health facilities and also went into mushroom cultivation and honeybee cultivation, and ensured that 100% electrification and drinking water was provided. So a massive change, and the UNDP has commended this particular initiative. And the Prime Minister has also spoken about the Aspirational Districts Program as a new program that reimagines the paradigm of development. The National Awards for E-Governance, along with the Prime Minister's Awards for Excellence in Public Administration, are major steps for recognizing meritocracy. And these are celebrated in many states, and the National E-Governance Conferences are held, very large events which attract more than 3,000 officials. And along with these, the regional conferences are held. In fact, the regional conferences, I was looking at the list, have been held at Srinagar, Bengaluru, Itanagar, Mumbai, Bhopal, Jaipur, Guwahati, Raipur, across the country. We'll have one in Hyderabad, sir, as you have advised us. In fact, we didn't have an invitation to host one. Now that you've given us, we will come back to you very soon. The regional conferences on e-governance also, it's important not only to have innovations, but to replicate and disseminate innovation. So dissemination of innovations, particularly district level innovations, is only possible when young district collectors sit together and exchange views. Another major mobilization for good governance has been the Good Governance Week. This is celebrated from 19 to 24. We did a nationwide Prashashan Gaon Ki Aur campaign that was celebrated, in which every district participated, and the force multiplier of all districts working together resulted in 514 lakh public grievances and service delivery applications being redressed in a period of 5 days. It was done at every tehsil and district level. There are many pensioners in this group, and many of you would have submitted your digital life certificates in this month. The digital life certificate represents a transformative initiative wherein which face authentication has been used, and this year 130 lakh pensioners have submitted digital life certificates across India. 130 lakhs. I was part of a DLC campaign. I was part of a DLC campaign. A mega DLC camp was held at Secunderabad cantonment last month, in which more than 2,000 different pensioners participated in the campaign. And I found more than 39 lakh pensioners use face authentication. You can submit a life certificate in 20 seconds. That is the kind of transformation that technology has given us. And rather than go to a pension office, wait in a long line, or go to a bank and wait a long period, it can be done. 1,000 people can get their DLCs within an hour. That is what technology transformation has developed. And Jivan Praman, along with, in case pensioner redressal of grievances are pending, the government is conducting what are called pension adalats, in which all ministries participate. And in the last 2 years, 1.7 lakh pensioner grievances have been taken up to ensure that the ease of living for pensioners is possible. In fact, the DLC campaign has witnessed more than 9 lakh DLCs which were taken up by above 80 years of age, pensioners above 80 years of age. So that's a massive change in terms of how the life certificates are being submitted. What we also found was that the banks came forward, 17 pension disbursing banks. The State Bank of India alone came forward and completed 11 lakh digital life certificates. We had the India Post Payments Bank, which conducted camps in 800 cities, 1,900 camps were held, and India Post Payments Bank did 7.5 lakh digital life certificates. This also featured as part of the Prime Minister's Mann Ki Baat on November 24th, and in which he has exhorted citizens to adopt digital technologies. One of the big activities that is being taken up is the Vision India at 2047. Every ministry and department, as part of its mandate, is formulating a Vision India at 2047. In fact, when we were given this mandate, we were asked to identify 40 young district collectors across India, 40 officers below 40. That was the mandate, to identify those officers who would be in policy-making positions by 2047, and given 10 streams of subjects in which they could participate and evolve their ideas and policy formulation. So the Indian Institute of Technology, Madras Research Park, coordinated this initiative to identify 40 young officers who could be brought and taken forward so that this talent can be nurtured. The ASCI was an integral part of the advisory group that the Minister of State for Personnel and Prime Minister's Office chaired, and we had many valuable suggestions that came from ASCI. They did set up many collaborations with experts on digital technology like NJ Mon, who is a Korean expert and one of the top 100 thinkers on digital technology and how agile governance models can be created. They were also part of the deliberations when we had with the IBM Center of Excellence for Business of Government, and also part of our deliberations with the Singapore authorities, which developed very smart apps called the Sing app. And that was how an integrated app which provides multiple services. I would also like to spend a few minutes on Chintan Shivir. The Chintan Shivir is a futuristic model of government. Once we join government, we function in vertical hierarchies. And in 2023, every ministry was asked to organize a Chintan Shivir in which 2 days deliberations were to be held in a location which is not your office space, and desiloization and free exchange of views and ideas could be taken up. In fact, as part of our Chintan Shivir, the Prime Minister came and sat for almost 2 hours, and the Minister of State spent 2 days with us. And the Prime Minister shared his vast governance experience, and he urged that impersonal governance models need to find life through deep personal commitment. And this could be done through personal interactions, spending time together to think about common good, and seeking to find happiness in every job assigned. The corollary is lack of commitment, inability to work in teams, inertia at workplace results in institutional decay. Very often you don't know who your neighbor is in a government secretariat. It is so siloized. So the objective was to de-siloize and get ideas from many thinkers. In fact, I was given 2 working groups which I had to share, one on effective redressal of public grievances, And the second one was on improving pensioner welfare. And many of the suggestions that came up came from officers who were not really working on the subject, but who were rank outsiders who came up with some of the new suggestions that came in. In fact, we were asked to ideate. We were put in a closed room and said, 5 hours, all of you sit together, get to know each other. There were many officials whom I had seen, but I didn't know them personally very well, whom I got to know after the Chintan Shivir deliberations. In fact, the feedback from several officers has been recorded, and the message was that everyone is equal. Work culture should be based on collective wisdom and consultative approach. The lessons from the Chintan Shivir were quite far-reaching, and institutions tend to rise and fall with individuals. But higher institutional energy can be brought about into governance models which are marked by workshops, symposia, working group meetings, webinars. Constant activity and publications can bring higher institutional energy. In fact, any institution can be transformed into a high-performing institution. And I've witnessed in the Central Secretariat, where vertical exchanges are predominant, horizontal exchanges occur only through senior officers' meetings. The Chintan Shivir model actually brought about quite a transformation in terms of our own thinking and understanding of younger colleagues. It also improved interpersonal relations significantly. And a quote from A.D. Gorwala, who said that in 1951, when he wrote the first report on public administration of independent India, he said, what is not inspected is simply not done. What is not inspected is simply not done. So you have to inspect to get it done. But the Chintan Shivir model did offer a paradigm shift in which perhaps with lesser inspection also, with greater team building, work can be taken up. Let me also speak about how India's governance models are being replicated abroad. The National Center for Good Governance is one of the apex bodies for replication of India's good governance models and for dissemination, has conducted capacity building programs for over 4,500 civil servants from 34 countries. It's a very huge number. In fact, the numbers of collaboration are so large that over the next 5 years, it is envisaged that more than 8,000 international civil servants at the senior levels of permanent secretaries, at the middle management levels of joint secretaries and deputy secretaries would be participating and visiting India over a period of time. Multi-country programs like Latin American countries, PIPIC countries, BIMSTEC countries, as also ASEAN are being taken up at the National Center for Good Governance. In fact, several letters of appreciation, both for bilateral programs as also international programs, has been received. One of the strong meetings that came out from my deliberations with ASCI was the need for enhanced capacity building of states. State capacity building initiatives were one of the big areas of discussion. And we had the former Cabinet Secretary, Mr. T.N. Chandrasekharji, who had participated in 2 days of discussion in ASCI. And we have tried to establish a center for state capacity building at ASCI as a new center of excellence that can take forward governance models. The collaboration with some of the states has been extremely successful. Let me list a few. Maharashtra, what we found was that they had set up a committee on good governance in Maharashtra that was headed by a 1961 batch officer, Sanjay Kumarji, and we interacted closely. One of the big things how the Maharashtra Secretariat could be transformed was they had a manual of office procedure that dated back to 1961. To run a state secretariat on a 1961 manual was not possible. It had to be rewritten. The office had to be brought in. And today, if you visit the Maharashtra Secretariat, you will find it a totally digital secretariat. That was the significant transformation that happened. The same with Jammu and Kashmir. Jammu and Kashmir had the Darbar system with 2 state capitals functioning in Jammu and Srinagar. And the adoption of e-office enabled both secretariats to function in a simultaneous manner. In fact, the Darbar system, which entailed 280 truckloads of files to be shifted from Jammu to Srinagar and back every 6 months, could be completely eliminated with an electronic system. The second was to transform a union territory and make it adapt to the good governance practices of Government of India post abrogation of Article 370 necessitated frequent interactions In fact, I did visit Jammu and Kashmir 24 times in the last 5 years, interacted right up to the district level, block level, grievance officers, strengthening grievance systems, bringing in digital technologies, capacity building of officers to run central laws, and also how the J&K Reorganization Act, capacity building of civil servants of the Jammu Kashmir Administrative Service, a huge number. And today, the digital transformation of Jammu and Kashmir is quite significant. They had 15 services of e-services in 2019. Today, operating more than 1,185 services as e-services. There's also been a significant amount of interaction with the Right to Services Commissions, which are responsible for improving service delivery across states. So there are, although 22 states have these Right to Services Acts, there are about 11 states which are currently having chairpersons and functional Right to Service Commissions. We've tried to engage with each of them on a monthly basis to ensure that the service delivery platforms of individual states can improve. I tried to present a vast gamut of work that has been undertaken in ushering in a technology revolution in governance from 2019 to 2024. This has enabled millions of Indians to reap the benefits of transparency in governance, faster timelines, and disposal of quality of decision making. My mind goes back to my interactions with Dr. Bhuvat Subbarao Garu when I was writing my book on the march to New India. We were evaluating the 2014 to 2019 governance paradigm, and he told me that, Srinivas, there is no difference between the governance challenges that we faced in the 20th century to what you're facing in the 21st century. Overwhelming commitment to public good against all odds remains the norm, and the basic values of ethics cannot be compromised. These are foundational in nature and have huge moral overtones with a universal dimension. I had documented his words in my books, and as I see him in the audience today, I'm reminded of these very same words. In fact, some of these words we used in the Constitution Day webinar last week, and we celebrated it on November 26th. He drew inspiration from the Statue of Unity at Kevadia. I've had the opportunity to visit Kevadia a number of times, and it provides a motivation for the relentless commitment to excellence in the Amrit Kal period. So let me conclude with a quote from the Prime Minister that India today is the 5th largest economy, and we will be the 3rd largest economy very soon. We're not only growing bigger, but we're also growing faster. And when India grows, the whole world grows. After all, we are 1/6 of the world's population. So our vision is Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, Sabka Vishwas, and Sabka Prayas. And we said that our journey in good governance will inspire many other countries to do the same. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Thank you.
Today's lecture would dispel any skeptics among us that the need for a collaborative approach, that we have to work together for common objectives, for common goals, and we should take ownership of them and we should work together as a group.
Let me respond to the first question that was raised by the urban governance specialist. How do you overcome systemic inertia, systemic resistance? I was part of 3-4 major digital transformation projects. The first was the Digital Aims project, which found mention in the Prime Minister's Independence to Address. And I documented digital Aims transformation, which initially found tremendous resistance across the system. Nobody wanted to go digital. It required continuous engagement, understanding of digital systems, process re-engineering to take it forward. The second major transformation was the revenue courts management system across the revenue courts of Rajasthan, 1,500 Tehsildar courts, 350 sub-divisional officer courts, and 33 district collector courts, as also the revenue appellate authorities and divisional commissioner courts. And then we had the e-office that was taken up. When I joined the department 6 years ago, it was 14% adoption. From there to 95% adoption, it required transformation. And CP Graham's 10-step reforms was another big transformative initiative. I recall particularly in Board of Revenue, Rajasthan, the registrar said, don't digitize, they're doing fine. The Bar Association of Rajasthan said that do not digitize, they're okay. The benefits of digitization far outweigh the benefits of status quo. And consensus building is possible, process reengineering is possible. I was personally convinced that digitization was the right way forward. And we had tremendous support from the Cabinet Secretary also when we adopted this initiative for increasing efficiency in this. And the process reengineering has to be through amendment in rules, through a structured implementation, and it needs to be monitored as to how data-based monitoring is required. We have Shabir Sheikh is here, and he does the grievance redressal assessment and index, so which identifies 11 categories in which grievances are monitored across 4 categories and 11 indicators across which we monitor. So every month we bring out a matrix which shows ministries in green, yellow, red accordingly, so that those who are in the red know in which particular category they're lagging behind. So there is always systemic inertia to any change, systemic resistance to any change that you think. And people will say that, oh, the governance was running before you, governance will run after you also. But systemic reform, constant reform requires tremendous amount of resilience and confidence that it will bring positive results. The second one, PM Ujjwala, is the right one. Camps that were held across the nation, and I've been part of a huge number of Prajatan down here at village level. PM Ujjwala remains one of the foremost and the most popular schemes that government has implemented as a priority sector scheme. And the role of Indian Oil Corporation under your chairmanship has been quite significant. So the digital arrest part is quite important, not only digital arrest. In addition to it, the number of complaints against financial services has been rising quite rapidly. And an attempt is being made to sensitize. The Prime Minister has spoken about digital arrest in Mann Ki Baat also. The sensitization levels across citizens require a huge amount of documentation as also outreach. I think several banks, as also the Department of Financial Services, are into this particular. Karmayogi is quite a game-changing initiative, sir, and I think every ASCI faculty, every intern, young professional who has an NIC.in mail ID should enroll and go through it. It's quite fascinating. I've seen very old officials going into AI in governance. So I recall visiting the office of Sunila Bagga. She was an undersecretary retiring the next month, and even she was trying to grapple with AI in governance and emerging technologies, trying to understand machine learning. So it provides you a platform where you can learn without any hindrance or disturbance from office work. You can sit in office and do a course 1 hour every day for 5 days, and you get a certificate. That's how so many people are doing 200 programs, 300 programs are being undertaken by individuals. I think you make it something for all of us. Okay. One more we want to ask. So you say, that 2,360 both are very there over 4 years. What is that? Oh, okay. We can, in fact, we can show you a PPT, sir. If you want, I can show you a PPT. But I'll tell you how it was done. The first thing that was taken up was office scrap. Electronic scrap was the first source that was identified. We found that in every storeroom that the government visited, there was huge amount of electronic scrap. The second one was automobile scrap. We found bullet motorcycles lying in Shastri Bhavan. We found ambassador cars that were long disbanded, not being sold. We also found across Army, Navy, huge amounts of scrap, automobile scrap. The third one was particularly in shipping ministry, railways. There was a lot of junk in terms of corrugated iron sheets that were lying that needed to be disposed. I visited the Kolkata shipyard, And I was quite amazed with the quantum of buildings that were left idling. The quantum, in fact, the Kolkata shipyard sales alone generated almost 15 crores of revenue. And go to the highway, you find even more, even more. Yes. So we found that the top revenue earning departments were Department of Military Affairs, which sold huge amounts of automobile scrap. In fact, there are photographs and photographs of them putting 8,750 kgs of electronic scrap from Secunderabad cantonment alone. That was the kind of scrap that came out. Then, of course, there were files that were weeded out, and more than 131 lakh files were weeded out. That was the number of physical files that the Secretariat needed to be weeded. Records management is a specialized practice in terms of how record retention schedules are monitored and how they're maintained. So, an exercise was done to preserve historical records and also to weed out records that are well past the record retention schedule. So coal was the one that produced highest amounts of space. So coal produced, and also waste to wealth. Many of these practices were generated into waste to wealth, and sanitation protocols, particularly in many of the office spaces of Government of India, have improved significantly. There's also waste to wealth, that you drop a plastic bottle of water and plastic bottle and you get 1 rupee in return. So there are ATMs, Katra ATMs that were established wherein you can actually find return. We found inclusivity measures were established. And one of the initiatives of setting up vertical garden in Income Tax Department featured in the Limca Book of Records as a national record for the number of vertical gardens that could be set up across the nation. We also found the initiative for increasing efficiency in decision making. We suddenly found a number of undersecretaries coming back to the Department of Personnel because the delayering ensured that many of them could be redeployed in vacant posts. Otherwise, we were showing 40% vacant posts. Suddenly, we found with delayering and four levels of flatter organization, many officials could be redeployed, new bureaus could be created, new divisions could be created in the Government of India. In fact, in my own department, when the desk officer system was set up, we suddenly found the efficiency levels had gone up, the receipts being processed came down to ridiculously low times, more than 200 receipts in a week was put this on. Thank you. I think you did well. Yeah. What do you want?
Thank you, sir. Good evening. I am Dr. O.P. Singh, a registrar over here. I don't have any question, rather request I have. Take from registrar office today, it is like we proceed for e-governance and whatever we say e-office. But we have limitations. You are discharging too many government offices, etc. And you have mentioned that those who have nic.in extension, they can go in this thing, but we don't have. I would request if we can be, given a help getting this extension.nic.in and some kind of help in e-governance and e-office, this thing, digitization, etc. I would be great.
We'll come back to you.
All today. One day, all organization has to be opened up. We already wrote. We found so many of this electronic
Crap, huh? Also old chairs, old tables, electronic photocopy.